Guess what we're doing again? I'm back with Objectified commentary. I don't know how long it's been, probably like 8 months or something, but I just got in the mood. Right now it's 4 in the morning, and I just want to talk about Objectified, so I'm gonna do that. Just got in a talky mood. I've been in kind of a slump recently for like recording videos. There's one I really want to make really bad that's just me playing Roblox games that are like Objectified themed, because there's some I really want to try. But on the bright side, me taking so long to do that, I mentioned I wanted to do it a while ago. You guys should have had plenty of time to update your games and add stuff to it that you want me to see. And I will be doing that soon. I want to make a day of it. Maybe invite my friends or just like a couple of them. Which likely that's going to be Chainsaw, because me and Chainsaw play, or like Giddy. Me and Giddy play a lot of games together. Right now it's, what is it? I think October just started. And where are we with Objectified today? And like just finished episode 88. Uh, Reach of Ice, the comic just got finished. And we're starting on Turtle Shell's journal. And that's all we have to do left. And I'm hoping we can get it up before the end of the year. I'm going to try. I have it scheduled, working on it on my days off. And I'm not super sure how long it's going to take, because I'm less worried about the amount of writing than I am touching it up and mostly drawing the photographs, because Turtle Shell's journal does have photographs in it. I'm going to do my best to make it as good as I can, because I know some of you really, really, really love Turtle Shell's journal, and I want to keep it good, and I want to do good by you guys. So we're going to do our best with that, and hopefully when it finally comes out, it's like good enough. I was kind of worried it's been taking so long that the expectations might exceed, like, it's kind of like I don't know what the terms are for that sort of, maybe like a sunk cost fallacy and interest, where it comes out and you're like, well, it's good, but it's not 2 years and a half good. I know it hasn't been that long, but it just feels like that. I just hope you guys like it regardless. But right now, we're going to talk about this episode. I actually skipped the one before it in the commentary series, because I actually tried to record that one. I think it was Freudian Slip multiple times, maybe like 6 times in total, and I just could never do it. One of the times I was actually like kind of tipsy too, and it was like really funny, but I'm not sharing that. We're just gonna go straight to like the first intermission, which is organ space. Other stuff about the website's changed since then as well. I'm not sure exactly what, but this warning page thing's definitely new, with like way more explicit descriptions of like what is going to be an Objectified, besides just like violence, scary bug, psychological horror. Because that covers a lot of bases, but there's so much more than that, really. And we put it on every episode now, so you can click on it whenever the hell you want, and it's always there. So doing commentary on an intermission about like a scientific endeavor might be a little more difficult for me, but I'm gonna do my best here. Basically, Painkiller comes in. This isn't really the comic. They're out of character. If you know what that means, that's just like non-canon interactions between the character and the audience in this context. So it's just them coming in like a mascot, talking to us about things they're passionate about that will help us understand the world that these characters live in more. And in this case, it's organ space. So Painkiller is going to tell us about this field of medical research and debate, as they describe, that is called organ space. So first, they're going to tell us a little bit about the world that they live in. So they explain that in our world, we have some animals, not all of the same ones that we have like in the real world. I mean, of course, we're also gonna have like bugs and shrimps and other random crap, but there's distinctly no large land mammals present in Objectified, because in my opinion, they're too, for lack of a better word, anthropomorphic, and they look quite uncanny standing next to object show characters. And it's important for us to still have some animals for multiple reasons. In this case, it allows these object show characters to understand that their bodies cannot function without organs because they have all these examples of animals and stuff that have all these interlocking, systems and stuff, and it just like explains how they are able to live and function. And it is confusing to objects because they don't have any. They do not have any organs at all, unless you count the skin. Don't be a smartass. They say objects are made up from 3 different types of cells, groups them into major cells. You get animal cells, plant cells, and synthetic cells. Animal cells are like the arms and the legs and the faces, yeah, and they're called like gateway parts because they're called gateway parts because they theorize that these are the things that connect objects to organ space, and we're gonna talk more about organ space later. Well, about as much as I can right now. Here's Painkiller sort of explaining what I've already said. Logically they should connect us to our hearts, just like animals. But there's a problem, we can't find our hearts. And talk a little bit about plant cells, because, we have our plant objects, and obviously they'd be made up of plant cells. Talk about how, like, RGB cells and, or synthetic cells tend to, like, either mutate to become animal cells and plant cells, or they remain to make up the object body. And that's sort of how, at least, you'd be thinking about it in the context of, like, respawn terminal, what is it printing out, what are these materials made of, and why are some parts of the object like fleshy and some aren't. That's sort of what we cover in this intermission here. Painkiller says all 3 of the major cells have the anomalous ability to heal and regenerate, and what they mean by that is, like, if you scraped your knee, it would, heal. It would scab over, and it would go back to normal in a bit. And it's about the same sort of thing. Not quite like Citrus, where he can eat a soul or quote unquote a soul and then regenerate like half of his face. It is nothing like that. It is just like about the equivalent of like a human being recovering their cells like naturally, healing over time. Just so that, you don't scrape your knee and it just stays like that forever. That would make a lot of sense. That would suck for everybody. But the important thing here is that it's not just the animal cells that do this or the plant cells that do this. Like, they would sort of in real life scar over, heal, naturally over time. It is also the synthetic cells, and that's why that's why this property is sort of anomalous in this sense that shouldn't be possible. An object shouldn't be able to get scuffed and then heal as if that were an injury, but in this world, it does. Painkiller also explains that if any of these parts are damaged enough, he'll probably just drop dead. They also mention that corpses are called husks and objectified, corpses of objects, specifically. So, for example, you see in the Razor episodes, they're using Jin's corpse as like a water collector and stuff. That would be a husk. That's a husk. It doesn't need the arms and legs, because, those decompose anyways. But, anyways, Painkiller explains how, we have our arms and legs, they're full of blood, and they work in, just sort of like a person's would, but if you cut them off, there's sort of this drop-off point where there's no more arm and it's just object, and it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, Nobody understands why. And here, this is important. We speculate that our organs exist on another plane entirely. That's organ space theory. They talk about the implications of the way objects work, where, you can see it right here. Our major arteries and cognitive function imply the existence of a heart and a brain, etc., etc. So there should be organs in an object. It just makes sense. But if you cut them open, there will be nothing at all. Nothing at all inside. No heart, no brain, no stomach, no liver, no nothing. And Painkiller explains that for this reason, they have little success in treating internal injuries, which, ironically, this whole intermission and everything that Painkiller talks about is serves the story and Painkiller as a character very well. This is almost foreshadowing, because later we do find out that I'm sure you've all read the comic already, that Painkiller's parents did die of internal injuries, and this did put Painkiller on the path of becoming a registered nurse and pursuing medicine and trying to help people more and maybe figure out what's really going on with objects and stuff. Though it's a very ambitious dream. And here we have like some cheeky. We're taking the piss a little bit out of ourselves. And this is also back when we used webtoons, so Painkiller thanks the audience for subscribing to webtoons. We don't have that anymore. There's no webtoons. The real horror has only just begun. That was true. We're so screwed. It's not even funny, and I like this is stupid, funny Painkiller. I think that's all I have to say about that episode. Just sort of like going over it. That was the thought process going into it and stuff. We're finally back to like this stuff. Our characters in the shit again. So we have better and worse. This was still in 2023. It's already almost 2026 right now. And I'm only just getting to this one. Razor does not want to wear a silly neckerchief, but Gum wants her to anyways, so she can hold cans of food. And this was just an excuse to put like an Aerospec neckerchief on Razor because I thought it looked nice. I made sure to specify that Razor picked the colors herself because I thought it might be less meaningful if Gum did it for her. Or it might be quite, or maybe thematically strange. I think it's more meaningful if Razor picks these colors herself because it's up to her to, you know, signal to the audience like these messages, like these colors and stuff and what they mean. And it'd make less sense if Gum was the one that picked them and it was just like a coincidence. I don't know. Maybe a little weird if she had done it like that. So this is why we did it like this. If that makes sense. And we really never see Razor carry things in it ever again besides Fuzzball. Maybe some parasites because I still get like this. I'd get pretty insecure making Objectified, feeling like I don't show parasites enough, and it's so much about characters and talking and drama and stuff. And there's this whole apocalypse going on. Everyone's wiped out. You'd think you'd see them more often. Some of my friends say it's fine the way it is, but I don't know. I try to sprinkle them in when I can. Okay, they're asking the sky for directions because they're still looking for a respawn terminal at this point. Razor still has the cans in her neckerchief, and they meet this bouquet guy. I forgot how to say that word. Oh my god. This design is really nice. It's unfortunate that he's kind of like sexually harassing Gum here. The punch was good. I liked how I drew that. There was a lot of lines, and this was before I had a ruler tool, so I kind of like had to do it the hard way. This is with SAI 1, which does not have a ruler tool, and all of your straight lines you have to do by hand. Which I'm perfectly capable of, but I'd like to consider myself retired from trying way too hard. And I use the ruler now. I also probably could have just used shift click, but then I wouldn't have like a tapered edge. Tapered edge? I don't know, you know what I mean. Tapered edge? I'm stupid. It's 4 in the morning, or it's almost 5 in the morning, I'm sorry. So she beats the shit out of this guy, and he gives her directions. I think this design, this bouquet in particular, this was one of the designs that I made before I had hired someone else to start designing background characters for me, so I wouldn't have to do it anymore. And or like minor characters and such, or not minor, just background. This would be considered a background character, I guess. Technically, not much of a minor role. I don't know what you call these. Like we show up and we talk directly to them. They have lines and stuff, but they're not really important or anything. And it's just like one time. I guess that's technically background. Or closer to background than minor. But what I was gonna say was I'm pretty sure I referenced this photograph of a vending machine in Japan that was selling bouquets that looked very similar to this one. It was such a pretty design, but I just ended up using it for this. Oh, and the sequence here might seem strange if you're not thinking about it, but really what we're showing here is Gum and Razor starting to get along was the whole point of this episode. really. Oh, well, obviously, while like driving the story forward, they have to get closer to their goal post. But here in particular, we see Gum indulges in a bit of violence, and Razor approves because Razor would probably hit first and ask questions later, and Gum's quite the opposite usually. Here's Razor trying to open pickles with brute force, and Gum kind of like talks her down from it, and she opens the jar the normal way. Because and you can kind of get from this scene that this is only because Razor's been spending more time with Gum. Otherwise, Razor would smash it with a chair. So here they're talking about Wagyu, and they're speculating things that I wanted the audience to start thinking about at the time. Why does Wagyu assimilate so fucking slow? And we get that just for a moment, here. Just have the audience think about it for a second, and then we move on. So we get the whole like dilemma here where Gum sort of figures out that Razor has been sneaking off to hunt people when it was like completely unnecessary, and this is a pretty good moment for both of them where we get a bit of their personalities. Razor is pretty like bad at listening to directions because she doesn't really care, and Gum is very observant and knows a lot about bestial objects because she was an anthropologist. You're like the JoJo's Bizarre Adventure onomatopoeia here, and Razor's getting scolded. She gets smacked upside the head. You know, don't eat survivors. They could have parasites in them, and then I'm not going to respawn all three of you, as in Razor, Fuzzball, and Sharps. And here we cut to Gum in a dream sequence. So here's Gum sleeping, and then suddenly she looks very bald, and there's no scars on her. And who's this? Someone approaches and asks, like, what her fucking problem is. And we find out that this girl is named Phage, and Gum's talking to her as if she were back somewhere she used to be a long time ago, all of a sudden, and is having all these regrets about leaving and, you know, hurting this person's feelings and stuff. And we don't know why. We don't know why Gum was scared of feeling stuck somewhere, or why she even felt the need to keep moving away from people that she knew. Uh, Technically, Phage is a target of Gum's. Probably one of the less serious ones. Probably one of Gum's less serious jobs, but still, like, you're not supposed to go in there and make friends with the target, but Gum just keeps ending up doing this anyways, over and over again. I wouldn't say even like friends, like every single time or anything, but like taking the relationship aspect of hunting and assassinating and doing chores for Candy just a bit not quite what she should be doing. It's a bit inappropriate for the job. And she just ends up in cahoots with these girls over and over and over again. And she's talking about her mom again. So a while ago, we have this sequence where Gum's sort of laying on the floor thinking about a conversation that she had with Sharps once before this, and it sort of lets on that there's something going on with her mom, and here we had a little bit more of that. I've always liked this sequence came out really good for when it was made, because I don't know what happened here, but the page layout's like really good. It's like one of my better ones I've ever made. And oh yeah, I had to like hand draw all the shaky lines and stuff, and I part of me kind of regrets like the glitchy effect on the eyes wasn't really fitting. I was like, well, what does any of this have to do with glitches in computers? Like, they're not in the fucking Matrix. It's a nightmare. But the eyes sort of like become more nightmare appropriate as it goes on, because I think I sort of realized that at that point, but I didn't feel like changing these. So I thought it's probably fine. Here she bites Gum in that sort of area, and Gum wakes up from the nightmare and is scratching herself there, talking about like how Phage wasn't like that, and she's confused. Like, why am I thinking about her? Why am I having nightmares about her? She shouldn't even behave like this way. I haven't thought of her so long, and I think this was one of the first times we, if not the first time, we foreshadowed, uh, Apparitia. So there were some very early signs for Gum. This wasn't a coincidence at all. She's very itchy there. And oh yeah, since the last time I did commentary here, we have this new thing on the official website that tells you when certain events happen, when Easter egg parasites spawn in the rings, when late stage events start because of three spines, and when characters get new afflictions, when their status updates, etc., health states change. So now readers can sort of read along the same way they would have been able to when Objectified was ongoing, coming out, as if they'd be able to see like the change log updates as they were coming out, and they'd know what all this stuff was going on and make a lot more sense for people, hopefully. You know? So here's Metamorphos. This is the episode where Three Spines, I think, spawns. And here we have Citrus and Spiller getting a lot better at hunting parasites. This sequence is pretty tough to draw. I remember kind of having to turn my brain off for it. I was just like listening to music and maybe taking breaks to like Papa's Burgeria or something. If I recall, it's like so long ago. Really into Papa's Burgeria back then. And I had this uh, Sonic French fry paper cup thing in my bedroom at the time that I looked at and I just kind of drew for this scene. So if you've ever read this and you're like, I don't know what the hell that thing is, that's sort of what that is. I was just like, I need to draw objects that are simulated. I'm looking around my room and I'm like, oh, I've fucking already drawn everything in here, and it just had this like garbage laying around. I was like, oh, I can just draw that, and it explodes. If I had changed anything about episodes like this, even though they're pretty high quality, they're pretty, high effort, I guess, and very well rendered and stuff. I'm putting overlay textures on the floor. It's got like concrete and bricks and stuff, but it's not messy enough. Here's a whole street. It's just clean as a whistle. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense, does it? There should be trash and cars and blood everywhere. And more often than not, I don't end up doing that, or I wouldn't at the time. And I'd like to think I've gotten a lot better at making the scenes look appropriately messy now, but I guess sometimes I still don't. So here we see our first builder parasite. As you know, you might have noticed parasites usually have this like hollow hole where a face or a head would be, which I think is creepier than giving them a face. So that's just sort of what it is. Also easier. But this guy is full of like red meat stuff, and this material is actually building material excreted by ID Pilar. It's actually pronounced Pilar. It's not pillar. That it actually uses to help build the hive and the hive foundation that we can see here. So Citrus and Spiller like trying to kill follow this thing, and they see like there's a whole bunch of them. And here we have ID Annex, ID Pilar, and they're building a hive, and here's a hive core. This is the hive foundation, the flesh lattice. And on the walls you can see similar builder parasites. They look very similar. And in the revamped Apocalypse Guide, we're going to talk about why builder parasites might look very similar, or why parasites might look like certain insects sometimes and other insects the other half of the time. And I actually finished coding it, and I just need to like do some proofreading, have some people do some proofreading for me, and then fix it all and stuff, and then we should be good. If I can like polish some images for it, I'll like whip that up like right after we're done with Reach of Ice. Hopefully. They get the hell out of there. And what's this? Is a big leg comes down and almost killed them. And it was that guy they tried to kill earlier. He played dead. So we're sort of letting on now that parasites are getting more intelligent. And as you can see, it's like a fork or something. And here we see Spool a little more Spool's like personality, just like sarcastic and cheeky and being kind of a dickhead. Even though it's like not appropriate for the situation, which like Citrus points out like, hey, I kidnapped you, what are you doing? And they're like arguing about it. And this is an important thing for them to talk about. You know, characters notice they're getting more intelligent, so you do too. That's important. Parasites evolve, it's a big theme in Objectified. They lured us and it worked. What if I couldn't fly? I don't know. If they're getting smarter, let's stop fighting them. You can't eat them anyways. We compete with those things for victims. We can't stop. You stress me out, Spool. Oh no, your stupid fucking lifespan. He just cares about the water right now, but this is mostly for you guys. You observe this information and you think, oh, that's why they don't just do this other thing I think they should do. Oh, that's why they can't. They have to do it like this. And next day, here we go. 3 Spines activity, our very first one, actually. The street's flooded. It's like a monsoon. They're talking about it, talking about how it never has rained like this before in the rings. So it's quite strange. And then the next day, they find out why. So you have some bickering here, like they're a fucking married couple or something. And Spool's about to like tear him a new one, but he almost trips over a fish. So that's strange. And you get this like scene where it sort of pans up to this big shot where we can see here's the rings. This took forever to draw, by the way. And this is the first time we ever see 3 Spines. I should honestly draw lightning more often. I haven't done it in a long time. I guess I kind of forgot that 3 Spines could do that. But the idea here was like, oh, new permanent storm over the city forever, and it can do weird things to the rings. And the first thing that 3 Spines does when it spawns is it pulls water all the way from Marshlight Port, which brings a bunch of marine life to the rings, and that is a long, long distance for something to travel. So it is so jarring for these characters to see, oh, dead whale in the Central Park. And we have like my attempt at like drawing a lionfish from memory. I don't think is very good, but I guess you could like recognize it. Spill mentions basically what I just said. We're nowhere near the ocean. Citrus, I'm scared. And then we have this like, do you have any kings? They're playing Go Fish, which I thought would be like a funny cute detail. And I was like, what card should Citrus like ask if Spool even has? And I thought, oh duh, right? In the context of like 3 Spines and stuff. I'm not gonna say anything more than that. But I mean, I feel like it's obvious. Especially with like everything we've foreshadowed and stuff. We tried to make it obvious, but I don't think people like want to be like 100% sure. If you know what I'm talking about. So yeah, here's the ID3 Spawns has spawned in the rings. It reaches and pulls from far away using natural disasters. It is upset that it was born. This detail, I guess, to like people who have never read Objectified or like they're new to it and not taking it very seriously or think it's kind of dumb, might see this part and think it's a bit over the top. But it's kind of important to say, because 3 Spines is kind of a friendly fire entity. And it's so upset all the time, it does often cause a lot of collateral damage even for like parasites. And here we have different yet same. I finally get to use their Molotov cocktails on this guy, who is a water bottle. Who's starting to look a lot like one of those builder parasites that have been assimilated. Still a bit primitive. You can I want to say if you can tell what object it used to be, it's pretty primitive. Because all these cells have to convert basically into a bed of flesh, which is starting to happen here. And then the bug itself, it will start to come out more. using the body of the object sort of scaffolding, but right now it's shaping itself. They hit him with a Molotov, which is basically just a bottle full of alcohol that they light on fire and explodes like a bomb when it shatters. And you have very important, I think, to show is Sugar Cube witnessing the horrors, the horrors. Brandy says, "Oh yeah, here's Brandy giving a little praise, and we're finally feeling like we're getting somewhere. Okay, they're finally starting to like get along, and like it's getting safer for them. They're actually doing something here. You know, we got progress. And they hold hands. Mint, as you can see, Minty initiates, and Brandy reciprocates just for a second before breaking Minty's hand. This is I think this is the first sign that something's wrong with Brandy. And we get this concerning shot where we can see into Brandy's eye, and we have this like squiggly lines and like sparkling stars and stuff. Here we go. She's got like star sheet. He has for a while. Has had it for a while. And I liked how I rendered his glass. Very dramatic. Storm starts up again, it starts raining. More Three Spines activity. Here's Brandy sitting in his bedroom. We got a few details, like here's a portrait of maple syrup that he keeps on his dresser still for whatever reason. Just like very specifically, you might notice there's not one of Minty. So I don't think Brandy likes him very much. Obviously. He's sitting on the bed looking outside, and we see like the storm clouds outside are weirdly disco ball-esque. And I'm excited to say you guys are gonna get a fantastic Christmas present this year, where we're gonna see more of that. But I shan't say too much. Here's Minty reaching for the gauze. I actually spelled gauze wrong in the draft, if I recall. And I think this technically violates the Geneva Convention, but don't tattle on me. We have Sugar Cube in like her blanket fort too. This, they're all sort of suffering here from, you know, things are tense now since this scene, and the rain starts and washes away Sugar Cube's chalk drawings of the family. So this image of them being together is being washed away by parasite activity, and we also see Sugar Cube leaves her chalk and forgets to take it home. So he's shot with three spines visible, and the city it's raining and stuff. Here's Minty, the broken hand, it's all patched up, trying to sleep on the couch. We have these environmental storytelling here too. Sugar Cube keeps drawing this parasite that she saw over and over again, to the point where she ran out of paper and has been drawing it on the back of the sketch pad, which is a bit concerning. But Minty's not really noticing it, and I don't think the parents are really acknowledging it, which is unfortunate. It's just like a whole shit show with these guys, with this flashback to with maple syrup and Minty sleeping with Brandy in their bed that they used to share. He's got like this cap on that keeps his stuff from like spilling out. And when I first made this episode, he didn't have the crack in his eye, but we had to add it later. And the reason was I didn't know what I wanted the reason for Brandy's cracked eye to be, but I decided it was like when they met Minty, which would mean that the eye would have to be changed to be cracked here, since they'd already met. And here's the next scene where we're here now and he's all alone. So things have changed and they're both not feeling too hot right now. Things are awkward, to say the least. Here they are trying to talk about it. So the next day, this is when I was trying to like try a little harder to sort of get a nice perspective in in this like apartment room and make sure I show that it's getting pretty messy. So I was trying a little harder to add small details and stuff. Minty doesn't want to talk about it, but he does want to talk about the fact that there's a bunch of ocean water outside, and he's really scared. So here's like a swordfish or a marlin or something I remember, and like a humphead wrasse or something, some crabs, and just like other random garbage, like bags and cigarettes, and this stuff doesn't belong here. Got seaweed too. I'm gonna do like one more. I know it's been so long. I want to catch up so bad, but I can't. Here we have them talking about. Sorry, I'm tired. There's like episode 33 taken. They finally find the building they were looking for that the bouquet guy told them about. Bouquet guy. So they're at 21st on South Street. They see a building. Razor says, I think I can climb that because there's a broken window up there that she can get into. And here's me trying to make a building look more appealing. If you remember, back when Razor and Gum ran into each other at the last medical center, the building was very poorly drawn. And I wanted to sort of prove to myself I could do a little better than that. So this one looks a little nicer, or a lot nicer, to be honest. So you have like more detailing on the buildings too. I'm just like, I don't want them to think I'm a super incompetent artist or like a really lazy one, so I'm just gonna try a lot harder from now on. You know, even if I do have to do these by myself every 2 weeks, I want them to look as good as they can. So the plan here is Razor goes and opens it from the inside so Gum can get in. So they can, you know, hopefully use a respawn terminal together. Razor also mentions her tree climbing genetics, which she gets from Warhammer. Even though, ironically, Warhammer is too big to climb any tree. But he is a bear. And she mentions her litter mates as well, so it'd be Harry and this chick. He looks a little... Fix your posture, bro. She climbs inside, comes like, alright, I'm gonna like go hang out over here for a bit, just take a breather. She sighs, she looks tired. And we have Stylus and Dagger trying to sneak up on her in this alleyway that I made the bricks way too small, and it makes the characters look very big. And I try not to do that anymore. Gum says just turn around, I'm not fighting a bunch of teenagers, so here we get like confirmation that Stylus and Dagger are teenagers. And Peanut Butter sneaks up behind her. This was back when I drew Peanut Butter with like her accessory that I don't really draw her with anymore. And we see like, oh, this was Dragon Scale's idea. She wanted to kidnap her, so here they drive off with her. Oh my god, Cone, I miss you. Well, one thing I'm surprised nobody ever really has noticed, or I don't, as far as I'm aware, is that the lines on this road are black because I forgot to make them white, and I never bothered going back and fixing it. Here, Razor finally opens the door from the inside. And this is reminding me, I used to have this problem where I'd draw these brick walls, and then the walls themselves are very thin, way too thin for brick walls, and I would end up going on to do this for so long, and nobody ever caught it, that I actually had to tell my revisionists to add it to their checklist of things to look for, because I was sick of letting that go, you know, and I didn't want to miss it if I ended up doing it again. Razor mentions how these terminals are broken, she's complaining about it, so we get the information that Razor checked the terminal already and it's probably not working. It's probably like destroyed. And it was. There's actually a picture of it. I'm actually gonna, let me see if I can get that right now. Episode 33, it might have been the release art. So that'd be in extras. I think it was this one. Let's see. No, it was the teaser. Hold on. 30, 33, 33. It's been so long. Yeah, this one. This was every once in a while we do an alternating perspective for a teaser instead of just like a cool drawing of the characters doing whatever they're we're gonna see them doing. We don't actually get to see Razor in this room witnessing this broken respawn terminal. So you see, there is blood everywhere, which doesn't make a lot of sense. And you'd think maybe that those were the RGB cells or something, but no. And how strange, I was hoping people would take a really close look at this one because right about over here on the floor is one of the symbiote's offspring. And we see on the wall another one. There's some flesh. So this machine was destroyed by the symbiote in a swiping motion that was so powerful that it destroyed a brick wall and a machine. So that's concerning, right? And I'm happy to confirm that was the symbiote. Because obviously, who else would it be? I made it so obvious, you know. And she notices gum's gone missing, left her needle sharp here. She sniffs it and then sort of can see like the scent trail visually, or at least the audience can. And the audience also gets this additional like fun fact that gum apparently is strawberry kiwi flavor. So Razor runs off to go find her because Razor knows this isn't quite right. Because why would Gum leave this behind? She knows something's wrong. Dragonskill's looking through her stuff. She's like, crap, crap, crap. Ooh. She finds some chocolate. She's like screwing with her. She's taking the piss out of Gum right now. And it's a little, zesty. She's being a brat. She sort of threatens her life a little bit. And they start taking a tour together. So Dragonskill, this is before Dragonskill starts to be like a better, starts to do better by her bandits and doesn't really let them into the store to reap most of the benefits of taking over the grocery store. They don't get to enjoy the shelter of the building itself. They have to stay in the tents outside. So it hasn't been cleaned or anything because Dragonskill's been bumming around in here doing a bunch of drugs and screwing around and trying to escape reality. Which we'll see soon, like in the next episode, or directly after this one. But I'll have to talk about it some other time because it's late and I'm tired and it's been more than 20 minutes. They're sort of arguing about it, trying to convince Gum to be on her side and help her defend this thing. And Gum starts to get a little nervous and tries to defuse the situation by pretending to be interested in the position. And she puts the charm on. And of course this works because everyone at Objectified is gay. She's got a little sus here. At the time I drew this, I was like, this scene came sort of naturally. I was like, well, they're kind of flirting, so. But at the same time, I was terrified of posting this one because I thought maybe it'd be too much. Because at the time, I was so paranoid about what the object show might think of anything even remotely sexual in nature. But it went over pretty fine. At most, people like to come back to recall this scene as like a really funny and like a sus way sort of thing. Like, what is Objectified even about? That kind of thing. Like where Citrus and Spool are on top of each other, just like this funny like sexual humor scenes and stuff. And it went over just fine. So that was actually really helpful for me to know that it wasn't that serious. It just kind of helps me be more comfortable making Objectified and stuff. So here we have Dragonskill showing her around. We have like the rabbits and all these animals that would exist in Objectified. I had to make sure, so we have narwhals, penguin, big body, little head penguin, because I thought it was funny. If you've ever seen those teddy bears. And then we have like the suspicious rabbit in the corner. I have like weed cabinet, which obviously she's broken into, and half the damn shelf is empty. She keeps using all this crap. The watermelons, the dead lobster. She's like showing her the beans, and Gums takes note that she's acting a lot different. You know, like the bratty, evil, thug, gangster ass dragon skill is gone. This is just dragon skill. Gum sorta has to get into a headspace here where she's being facetious, and now Dragon Scale is being more genuine because Gum just wants her to like her so she can just get back to what she was doing, like escape or something. And we get a flashback. So this is a bit much for Gum. This is a head. This is implied to be a headspace that Gum has had to slip into before, which is why we get this flashback to Gum and Babs in Mount Fortune in Burning Isles, where we have this statuette, this golden statuette of Grildora. There's some implied wealth here. What's going on? We're gonna find out later. And there's some suspicious thing going on. Obviously, she's worried about her health and safety. Gum doesn't want her to worry about it, and makes a promise to her, and they kiss. And then, Dragon Scales snaps her out of it. She's like, "Are you coming or not?" And Gum's like, "Yeah, okay." And that's sort of all I'm gonna do for now. So I'm gonna go to bed. Ugh.